Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lynn Wilson, and tonight we're going to be talking about easy budget meals. We're going to go frugal, we're going to stay on budget, we're going to use leftover chili to make 10 plus meals to fill in the gap of the rest of the month when you're running short on funds. Okay, so what can we do with chili? Now, some of you might be chili fans and some of you might not be chili fans. So depending on where you're falling in that, I love a good pot of chili, but I don't like it all the time. It would be something I'd make occasionally. Probably twice a year we make it, but then we have all the leftovers. We're only a family of 3. So what would we do? If you're a family of 1 or 2, a very small family, I see so many channels hitting homes with 10 plus family members in the family. And what do you do when you're only a family of 1 or 2? How do you take a good pot of chili? How many of you would like a good pot of chili and some cornbread on a cool evening, the weekend? What do you do with all this leftover chili when you're a family of 1 or 2? Okay, well, I have 1 container here and I have a couple more containers. Let me tell you some of the things that we've done and some other ideas of things that we are about to do. So you're a family of 1 or 2, but you want to make that big pot of chili. Oh, it smells so good. You put all your favorite things in there. We like to add corn as an extra. But what do you do when it's all left over? Okay, so ready? Get your notebook, get your pen, and jot these ideas down. So first of all, when you make your big pot of chili, number 1 is you're probably going to obviously have a dinner with that pot of chili. And maybe the next day you bring some to work or you have it for lunch, and then maybe you get one more dinner out of it as it is, and before you get sick of it. You kind of you can only handle so much. Okay, so let's say you got 2 or 3 meals out of the 1 pot of chili. After that, if you're a family of 1 or 2, or, maybe, a family up to 4, a deli container about this size, or a small container, however you have your containers. This is a perfect portion for a 1-person portion. So whether you're a family of 1 or a family of a few, maybe not everybody wants the leftover chili at the same meal. So this is a perfect size. If you want to do maybe, 2 or 3 person, you would want to go to the medium size. You can see the difference. So this one we're going to use for other ideas as well. So you can pre-portion small amounts like this that you can use later on in the month, toward the end of the month when the funds are starting to get low and you're like, oh no, I don't want to spend any more money. I've spent enough on food, or the funds are just tight or whatever. You can say, that's right. I made that big pot in the beginning of the month. Now I can pull it out and use it at the end of the month. Oh, what else can we do? Now, I'm known for my soups. I have a reputation in my local circle of people say, oh, Lynn's soup. I love Lynn's soup. I love taking this medium size. All right, there you go again. You can use this too, but this is the perfect size. Now, here's the thing. It's not only reusing the chili, but reusing the chili to stretch. You could probably come up with all of these ideas and 1 pot of chili up to 30 extra meals. Let me explain. So you take this container full of chili and you freeze it. Later in the month, my funds are tight, or you want to just use all the bits of leftovers that you have. All those straggly pieces of, you roasted some carrots and you only have a couple left, and you got a little bit of this, maybe a few potatoes, whatever the case might be. This is my secret trick to a delicious soup. You take a container like this of chili. Now, when you've made chili, if you've ever made it, the first batch out of the crock pot or wherever you make it is always really not only flavorful, but it's more saucy, I guess you'd say. And then once you've frozen it or you've used it as leftovers, it's usually a thicker base. So you freeze a container like this. Now this is how you can really stretch it. When you're ready to make a pot of soup, I don't know how to make soup. I'm going to tell you real easy. You take this container of chili Now it's a little bit more condensed in flavor and thick. You're going to put that in your stock pot. You're going to add anywhere from 4 to 6 to 8 cups of water, depending on how far you want to stretch your soup. Now think about it. You started with one of these of chili. You're now going to end up with anywhere from 6 to 10 of these of soup. So that's not to say the other chili that you've already frozen for leftover meals and the other meals we haven't even talked about. From one container of chili like this, you can get 6 to 10 more containers by simply making soup. That is really stretching the dollar. So you take this container, you put it in, add some water, add some bouillon, better than bouillon, any kind of, you can use a chicken broth, a beef broth, however you want to do it, you add that to this. Now that alone is flavorful. Depending on what you've put in your chili, we put in beans, we put in meat, and we put in corn. That's the flavors that we like, and of course our chili seasonings. Now you've got this chili in this beef broth or chicken broth, however you want to do it, whatever you happen to have in the house. It doesn't really matter. Either way, I've used both. They taste great. What I love to do is add fresh spinach. I have now been putting my spinach in jars, in mason jars. I used to get a bag of spinach, it lasts a couple days, and then you start getting that slimy spinach at the bottom, and you almost feel like it's a waste. And I didn't always want to have to dehydrate it. I can look at the bottom of this. You can see how fresh that is. This bag of lettuce is now a week old in a mason jar. You can see it right there. Look at that, as fresh as can be. You can add to a stock pot, you can add a whole package of spinach. It'll cook right down. You can then add any leftover vegetables that you have, maybe a couple carrots, maybe some potatoes, you maybe want to add some rice, maybe you have some green beans left over, you have some peas left over, whatever you want to add. Or if you don't have any of that, you can just do the chili with the broth, beef or chicken broth. You can add a few extra seasonings if you wanted, add some rice, but again, all those leftover bits and pieces, maybe at the end of the week, put all your little leftover bits and pieces of a vegetable in a container. Keep adding it. At the end of the month, you have a container full. Add that in with the chili. Stir that up. Let that just sit on simmer for an hour or two, and I'm telling you, it will make the best pot of soup you have ever had. And you've already stretched it right there. The other thing is you can take your leftover chili and you can put it in tortilla wraps. And you can, you can take, if you have extra beans, you can make some refried beans and put that on the bottom. You can add your chili to that. You can add some rice on top of that. You can add fresh spinach to that if you wanted. You can add some cheese to that. You can roll it up and you can make your own burritos out of chili. Another thing you can do with the chili, now again, once you've used it and it's left over, it's pretty, look at that. It's pretty thick. There's not a whole lot of juice in that. You can see a little bit running down. There's not a whole lot. So this can be evenly stretched with a little extra water to thin it out. But maybe make a pot of rice, some white rice, some brown rice, whatever you want to do, and just put a little bit of chili on top of it. And it makes it more like a stew on top of your rice. You can do the same thing, put it on top of your pasta, and that's delicious. Another thing you can do is make macaroni and cheese. If you're looking to stay on a budget, Walmart has their own brand of macaroni and cheese. It's not bad. We've had it. 34 cents a box. You take a 34 cents box of macaroni and cheese, and then you just take a little bit of chili and mix it in with that. You can add some vegetables. You can add fresh vegetables. You can add some canned vegetables. And if you're a family of 1 or 2 and you make a box of macaroni and cheese, you add chili and add a can of peas. You're talking pennies now. A can of peas is 50 cents. A box of macaroni and cheese is 34 cents. You're using your leftover chili, so you're under $1. And that meal for a family of 1 or 2, you're going to get at least 2 to 3 dinners out of that. That's a pretty good meal. So you're talking under $1, maybe 75 cents, 80 cents for one meal. Divide that up over 3 meals. You're talking, what, 20 cents a meal, 10 cents a person. If you're on a budget and you're trying to be frugal, 10 cents a person, way to go. Okay. What else can you do? Scrambled eggs. Add a little chili. Now you're talking maybe a tablespoon or even a teaspoon of chili. So you're not talking like, this whole thing of chili. You take a tablespoon or a teaspoon. If you're one person, you're probably going to do a teaspoon with a couple eggs. Take 3 eggs, scramble them up, add a teaspoon of chili. It flavors the eggs so nicely. And you've used only a teaspoon of chili. You're still going to have tons left over. Make something like a cottage pie. A shepherd's pie, the traditional shepherd's and cottage pie we're not making. But you can take your chili as a base. You can add what I would probably do because this has corn in it. I would put that on the bottom like I normally do with my cottage pie. I just put some green beans on the top of it. And then I put my mashed potatoes. And then I put some cheese on top of that. You've got a great meal. You can do a thin layer of meat of the chili. You don't have to do a thick one. If you wanted to do that, you could. But if you're trying to stretch your dollar, do a thin layer of the chili in a small casserole dish. Add a layer of green beans or peas and carrots would be, I think I'd go with the peas and carrots. Mashed potatoes and cheese. You can get $1 package of mashed potatoes. If you can't afford to get a fresh bag of potatoes, you can go with instant potatoes. You can go even with instant potatoes with 4 cheeses in them for $1 at Walmart or $1.25 at the Dollar Tree, and put that on top. You've got a great meal. Again, that will stretch for a family of 1 or 2 into probably 2 to 3 dinners. What else can you do? Oh, this is one of my favorites. The canned biscuits. And you can get the cheapy canned biscuits. You don't have to go with the, the fancy brand name and all that. But get canned biscuits, and you just take the biscuit in a muffin tin. And I have a muffin tin that has 6 in it. So that's like perfect for a family of 1 or 2. But you take the biscuit, you put it in the bottom of the pan, and kind of like just spread it out in the bottom of a muffin pan. And put maybe 2 tablespoons, 1 to 2 tablespoons of the chili on top of the biscuit that you put in there, and put a little cheese on top, and just bake that for 12 to 14 minutes. Oh, so good. You come out with a biscuit wrapped around the chili with the cheese. You eat that. You're in good shape. Make a little side salad. You're in good shape. Oh, so good, so good. Another thing that you can do would be make burgers out of it. Now, what I've done black bean burgers. You can take this again. This is thick. You can see, there it goes. But you can see it's a thick, condensed. It's not juicy. But you can take this, if you have any extra beans, chop them up like you would do refried beans and add that to it, or add some rice to kind of like make it a little bit of a thickness to it, and then make it into a patty. And you can do a light coating of flour on each side. That will help let it fry up. Fry those puppies up. You can make yourself a nice, delicious chili burger. Put some cheese on top. Add cheese right in it if you want to just cook it up all in one. I hope these ideas are helpful. Make 1 pot of chili for yourself and stretch it over the next month. I'll tell you a secret too. See this chili? Chopped meat is not necessarily cheap right now. You want to be frugal. I took half the amount of meat. You could even take a quarter of the amount of meat. I put in here, I didn't use the whole amount of meat, what they recommend. They call for 1 pound. I used half a pound. Plus, I use 1/3 cup of lentils. Put that in the crock pot. The lentils replaced the meat. Nobody ever knew the difference. It was delicious. So if you want to go vegetarian, completely cut out the meat, just use lentils in your chili. Let me tell you, the lentils are absolutely delicious, very healthy, full of protein. You're in good shape. I am hoping that this was a help to you. It's definitely a help to me. It'll keep you staying on budget. It's a frugal way to do it. It's an easy way to do it, a simple way to do it, a great way to stretch the dollar. And I've told you, I'm starting to use 1 package of meat and stretching it for the week. Here I've used half a package of meat. And I've come up with meals that if I do it right, and I make my soups and I make my other things, I can stretch this 1 pot of chili throughout the entire month. Leave me a comment below. Let me know if you have any additional ideas and how we can use our leftover chili. Thanks so much for coming over, and we'll catch you all on the next video.